मैंने कर दिया लाइव. Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Just want to do a sense check before I really move on. Can anyone please confirm that are you able to view me and of course hear me properly? Just to do a sense check on that before I really move forward. Can anyone please comment on the live chat and confirm me that they can see me and of course hear me properly before I really move on? Hey Ishan, thank you. Thanks for confirming. We'll just wait for a minute and then we'll kickstart. Good evening, Ishan. All right, guys, let's just kickstart. I think it's just over the time. All right, thank you very much, guys, for really joining me and of course being here to do what we really wanted to cover today. That is nothing but the ACCA Strategic Business Reporting. I would say last minute catch up that we really need to have before you really go and sit for an exam. Now, this masterclass, I can tell you, this masterclass is specifically designed and crafted and drafted from the standpoint of really giving you the last minute nuances in terms of how your exam can get onto you, and if that really happens, how can you handle that in the best possible way. And that's what we would be covering today. I do have a brief agenda for you that I intend to cover, and I'll just take you through the same. All right, what we would be covering is the following. We would be covering the analysis of the SBR, the Strategic Business Reporting. I'm sorry, I'm used to Strategic Business Reporting examiner feedback that I have seen. So there are various examiner reports that are there from the Strategic Business Reporting standpoint. I really want to give you the crux of it. You know why I want to do that? Many of the times, while you have prepared so much about your exam and so much in terms of the content, in terms of the coverage, in terms of the practice that you've done, at times what we really miss on is what examiner is really shouting on us, saying that this is something that students are not doing good. And if we really know that, if we really understand that, and if we can really, we would say, implement that in what we would do when we will sit for an exam, and if we can really inculcate those best practices in ourselves, then I am sure result can be very different. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We would be touching upon some of the nuances that examiner has been talking on, that we will be taking up in terms of, what are the recommendations in terms of, really covering up on that, and how can we really manage that. We'll talk on that. Then once you've done the analysis of the strategic business reporting exam reports, what I have is I really want to discuss few of the issues, the commonly observed issues in the exams. I really want to talk on that, and then coming on to the recommendation that I have as to how you should be handling your exam when it will come your way. Remember one thing, my friend, I really want to kickstart this with this discussion, that you have already prepared a lot for your exam from the content standpoint. Of course, and I'm more talking from the FinTrammer standpoint. You have already covered our full course sessions. You have gone through our revision boot camp. You have also given the mock. Now is the time that you should understand what is something that you should not be doing for sure in the exam. There are a few things that examiner has been, I would say, reminding us again and again that these are the things one should not be doing, and we would be, of course, deep diving into that as much as possible just to ensure that you're not doing that mistake. And towards the end, what we have is that we'll touch upon the Q&A. I really want to take the live questions from you. Whosoever has any doubt in the strategic business reporting exam, let's bring it on. We will kill it. We will kill it. Does it sound like a plan? Yes, sir. Now, before we really jump on there, I do have one slide that I really want to start off with. That is that for the coming 45, 50, 60, whatever that minutes are, you have to be with me, my friend, and your cell phones have to be on the silent mode, if not on the switched off mode. You have to ensure that these 45, 60 minutes that you're giving to me, you should be able to get the best out of it. And that is only possible if your WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, all of those things are not there with you for the coming 1 hour. Can that be possible? Is that possible? Yes, sir. Please do that. This session is primarily to give you the best in terms of, what you really need to carry on when you will hit for your exam. And these 45 minutes, 60 minutes can really be the game changer for you. You just have to be with me, bear me as much as possible to really understand how can you really come up the curve, and of course take down and of course understand those issues what the students have been facing in the exam. Is that clear? Yes, sir. And of course, when in doubt, you have to ask the question. We have to make this as interactive as possible. This is not a session wherein I'll just come and speak and of course you can do whatever you want to do. No, that's not going to be happening. If you have any doubt, if you have any concerns, speak up. We will be taking that up in the details. All right, then contribute with your feedback, and of course this I say that I've been saying that all along in my sessions also. Contribute, and the biggest contribution that you can really make to us is the feedback. Give us the feedback as to what we can do more, what more help and support you want, and we'll be there in terms of giving you the best of the best possible. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Should we move on? Yes, sir. Alrighty. Now, before we really jump on there, and of course, this is not for the FinTrammers because FinTrammer really knows me in and out, but for the folks who are seeing me for the first time, and of course are here on our channel for the first time. Firstly, the first thing I would say is subscribe to our channel FinTram Global, because we keep coming up with all these informative videos on various subjects of ACCA. So you should be subscribing us for keep getting all these beautiful and smart videos for yourself, because that would certainly equip you from the standpoint of handling this exam in the best possible way. So subscribe us. All right, if you've already subscribed us and are here for the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Pankaj Dhingra and I'm a qualified chartered accountant and CPA from US. I have been working with various corporates at the leadership in finance and of course have been the faculty for CA, CPA, ACCA in all throughout my last 20 years. I have worked out for the corporates like Wipro. I have worked out with BlackRock and off late with the Boston Consulting Group as the head of finance in terms of dealing what they really need to do from the financial leadership standpoint, financial strategy standpoint. And now what we really gonna be covering over here is that we would be covering the strategic business reporting as an exam from the leadership level as to how you should be thinking about it when you would step into any organization. This is the beauty of the ACCA exams. They really want you to be prepared from the industry standpoint so that when you hit the industry, you're able to tackle those problems in the best possible way. And that's what this strategic business reporting exam also expects from you. The examiner throws out in the exam various practical situations, issues, nuances onto yourself, and you being the strategic business reporting lead have to manage that, have to sail through that and give back the examiner exactly what you would do in a practical scenario. And that's what the expectation of the examiner is, and that's why the experiences that I've had with various organizations in the finance as a function, I can really help you in terms of understanding those nuances, understanding those issues, and of course really coming up the curve in terms of how can you really best manage the same. Is that clear? Yes, sir. I've also given my WhatsApp details over here and of course my personal email ID. If you have any concerns, any doubt, any questions, just write to us. We'll be happy to pick it up. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Alrighty. Moving on. Now this is something I really want you to, of course, have as a, it's more of a recap to all of the folks who have already prepared for the strategic business reporting exam. I really wanted to bring these 2-3 slides, just giving you a perspective, and I would say just having a stepping stone being installed over here. Now what I'm trying to do over here is, and what I'm trying to build on over here is that strategic business reporting exam, of course you know that, and I know it, it's a 3-hour 15-minute exam. We all understand that has 2 sections. We know that, sir. So we understand that, sir. I'm reminding you, my friend, for a reason, and I'll come on to that. We have a section A, of course, wherein we have 2 professional marks. Of course, section A and section B both are of 50 marks each. We understand that, sir. And of course, there are 2 marks on account of professional marks that are there in section A, and then there are 2 marks that are there in section B, and that is again on account of professional marks. Section A, you get an award of these 2 marks from the standpoint of writing and of course having the feeler to the examiner that you're able to apply the ethical principles and recommend the appropriate actions. In our revision boot camp, we have covered this at length in terms of how one should be handling the ethics quotient in the exam. And of course, you have the FT, me and you with you in terms of handling that in the best possible way. And we'll of course briefly touch upon today also in terms of giving you a recap as to how one should be thinking about that. Important is that you're not missing on this point, that while you write your ethics quotient in the exam, there are 2 marks waiting for you in terms of how you write that ethics quotient in the exam. It is just that you have to really elaborate the ethics principle, the rightful principle that is applicable over there, and of course you're able to give the right recommendation. While that is the requirement of the quotient, but how beautifully you give back to the examiner can get you 2 extra marks. And this is something that can be a game changer, because there are many students who get stuck at 48, 49 and so on and so forth. 2 marks really makes a big difference. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Again, section B again has 2 marks. I would say section B is more wide in terms of outreach that they have from the professional skill standpoint. But if I have to really, I would say, carve it out or tell you in the nutshell in terms of what you should be doing for getting these 2 extra marks, you should always ensure that you're able to have a discussion relating to the conceptual framework. The conceptual framework is something we have done in detail, in depth, and we have practiced a lot of questions on that. Please ensure that these conceptual frameworks are surely implemented in the best possible way. And of course, if there is a discussion that is in relation to the conceptual framework, you're capturing that, and of course ensuring that you're able to give the importance to all the users of the financial statements. There has been a comment in various examiner report, and of course you can go on to the ACCA Global website and you can check out the examiner reports of the strategic business reporting exam. You will get to know that many times examiner says that the expectation from the student is that they should be able to understand what is the requirement of the various stakeholders that are there in the organization, so that when you comment, when you really give a suggestion, when you really give an answer, your answer should be able to, I would say, portray that you have an understanding of your diverse stakeholders and all of their needs are taken care from the financial information standpoint. So when you're writing your exam, always think, and of course there are many things that you would see in the exam where you have to discuss, you have to suggest, you have to recommend, and so on and so forth. When you're doing that, just do that, taking various stakeholders into your consideration, whether it is an investor, whether it is a creditor, whether it is a debtor, whether it is a regulator, whether it is a shareholder, whether it is an auditor, and so on and so forth. There can be n number of stakeholders that you may have, but if you cover the variety of them from the answer standpoint, because your answer should justify that the financial information that you're suggesting on really caters all of these stakeholders, these 2 marks, these 2 professional marks will automatically flow your way. This was the reason, my friend, I wanted to discuss the section A and section B. I know you all understand what comes up in section A and section B, but I really want to highlight these 2 points, that 2 marks are waiting for you in section A. These are like free marks for you, and 2 marks are waiting for you in section B. Again, free marks for you if you are following up the right technique for it. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Alrighty. I really want to talk on this, I would say, a little more, wherein I really want to talk on that you have section A and you have section B. In section A, I have 1 question that is of 30 marks each, which is generally a consolidation question, wherein you have an issue in consolidation and examiner really want to test you that you understand that. Do you know the nuances around consolidation, and can you rightly recommend that in terms of how one can really correct this out? All right, then ensure that there is a discussion, suggestion, recommendation, whatever the need of the question is, you are able to answer that there and then. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Question 2 of section A is 20 marks. So we have 30 marks for consolidation, 20 marks for the ethical issue, and I have said that nth number of times in our sessions and of course in a revision boot camp that these 20 marks are easy marks to get in the exam. Ethics question is the easiest question to handle in the strategic business reporting exam. Please do note that. Of course, over here something is not right and you would need to recommend the right way of doing it, and that's what we have learned. Of course, we have learned the technique also in terms of what you should be writing the first, second and third time, and of course the fourth line. Ensure that you're following that as a principle. FD, me and you is gonna be the game changer, my friend, and we know that, sir. We know that this is your copyright product, sir. FD, me and you is something that you should be following in the strategic business reporting exam, and I'm sure that would really help you clear this exam. I'm not taking the suspense away right now. We will be talking on FD, me and you towards the end. I really want to really highlight that. All the FinTrammers really know that because they've seen me saying this again and again, and they've seen me practicing question also on that, giving you how one should be handling that. But for the folks who are seeing us for the first time, I really want to give you what this FD, me and you is all about. Towards the end, we'll talk on that. Wait for a while. All right. Then we have the section B, my friend, wherein we have 2 questions. We have 2 questions in the exam that talks on the IFRS. Over here, you get some IFRS issue which you have to understand, you have to complement, and then you have to recommend back in terms of what one should have done in that kind of a scenario, considering that you have the IFRS at the back of your mind. And that's what happens, my friend. That's what you really need to do. And of course, over here, one thing that is really important is the current issue. You really have to know what is recent in terms of changes that are happening, whether it is the exposure drafts or whether there is any recommendation that has come your way on the ACCA website. You should be aware of that. An examiner also expects that to happen because that is generally being tested in the section B. Is that clear? Yes, sir. It's more like a revision for you, my friend, but I really want to really touch base this, that there are 4 free marks that are there in section A and B, of course 2 in A and 2 in B, and how can you really get that, and of course what kind of questions that really come your way, and if they really come your way like this, how can you best manage that? Is that clear? Yes, sir. Alrighty, moving on. What is expected? What is expected in the strategic business reporting exam? Sir, why are you talking the expectation? I really want to talk on the expectation, my friend, because many of the times students miss it at the last moment. And this is just something that I don't want to happen with you. And that is the reason I really want to call out that this is something that is expected by the examiner. Give me a sec, we'll run that through. All right, the first expectation that examiner has from you in the strategic business reporting exam is that you should be able to appraise, assess, critically discuss, apply accounting concepts and principles to the given scenarios. Many of the times, I can tell you, many of the times examiner calls this out in the examiner report that you have to apply the principles to the scenario of the question. If you're not doing that and just writing the IFRSs, it is not going to give you marks. You should have IFRS over here, but in the exam, that IFRS should get applied to that situation, and then you should recommend, assess, whatever the case is in terms of what the examiner would have asked over here, write it like that. Many times we give the calculation and we are not, of course, giving the discussion, suggestion, recommendation, what is the need of the question, and we get it burnt off the examiner. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Explain the appropriateness of the particular accounting treatment for a given transaction or the event. This can involve calculation as well as the explanation of the relevant accounting standard. Please ensure that I've already spoken up. You have to give the calculation, of course, with an explanation as to what the accounting standard says. And of course, if your understanding is that why it is the way it is, mention it. Mention it and giving the context that this is what the accounting standard really says, conceptual framework really says, and this is relevant to the case in this way. Important is that you're able to explain rather than just give the calculation. One basic difference between any financial reporting exam and strategic business reporting exam is that in strategic business reporting exam, you are supposed to apply your knowledge, apply your skills onto a particular case, having the IFRS at the back of your mind and then stepping into the shoe of the head of finance over there and recommending the action. Please do not forget that. We have practiced a lot in the strategic business reporting revision boot camp when we have practiced the concept, the comprehensive, the past examination questions also, giving you all the tips and tricks needed, my friend. Important is that you should not miss on that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right, moving on. SBA paper also includes the ethical aspects. We know one question is there on the ethics. Yes, sir. Requiring candidates to demonstrate the understanding of the professional moral judgment that accountant should have in the practice. I think we have discussed this. This is the expectation. I really wanted to highlight it over here because one should really know what is being expected from you in those 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's like a recap, my friend, like a recap, so that you're not forgetting that when you're sitting for your exam. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Moving on, the overall feedback of the examiner. Now, this is something that I've collated from the various ACCA past examiner reports of the strategic business reporting exam. Many of the time students do these mistakes, have these issues, and that is the reason they really suffer when they are not able to clear this exam. I really want to highlight these areas because, as I always say, it is always good to learn from your own mistakes, but it is even better when you're able to learn from the others' mistake. And these are the mistakes, my friend, which others are doing. Please know that and ensure that you're not repeating the same. Number one, examiner says that students are not understanding the exact requirement of the question. Many of the times, requirement of the question says something, you answer something. They're asking you to explain, comment, recommend, suggest, whatever, but you're doing the calculation and you're not doing this. Killer for you. You would get hit by that. Understand the exact requirement. If he's asking you to calculate, calculate. If he's asking you to check that is the calculation correct, do that. If he's asking you to comment, comment there. Please understand the exact requirement of the question, and we have done that n number of times in a revision boot camp when we have gone through the issues and of course handled questions ourselves. When I have practiced questions in the revision boot camp, I've ensured that we are not missing on the same. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Not providing all in terms of the content that is needed. If you're not reading the question properly, you may not provide the 100% of what is being needed, and if you're not doing that, you would not get marks. Classic example, if he's telling you or asking you to calculate something, let's say goodwill for that matter, and then he's asking you to comment on how it has moved over years. Now, there are two requirements in these questions, and in this question, do not miss on that. You have to calculate, you have to comment, and if there is a third one that is there, please ensure that that is also taken care. Understanding the exact requirement, giving the examiner exactly what he needs, ensure that 100% coverage is there from the question standpoint is the super important thing. Do not miss on that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Justice to every question was not done. Now this is classic. You start your exam. Okay, sir, I start my exam. You know, let's say question number 2 very well. You start out with question number 2. Good, sir, very good. You should always try doing the question that you know the best, sir. That is what I'm doing, sir. What's wrong in it, sir? That's not wrong, my friend. But if you have fallen in love with that question and you have spent, I would say, overtime on that question, that is a suicide for you. Any and every question has to be completed within the respective time frame. And I say that, ACCA also says that 1.8 minutes per mark is something that you should be spending on any and every question that you may get to see in the exam. Let's say question is of, I'm saying 10 marks. Now 10 marks into 1.8 will give you 18 minutes to be spent on that question. If you're spending 38 minutes, just taking an example, you're killing yourself, you're running yourself towards the failure. Do not fall in love with the question in the exam. Give every question a justified time in the exam. That is 1.8 minutes per mark. Do not go overboard. That is not gonna be helping you. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Again, next point is, at times answers are very generic. We are not relating to the scenario in the exam. Again, this is something we already discussed, that if you are knowing an IFRS and only writing an IFRS over there, this is not an F7 exam. This is not a financial reporting exam. It's a strategic business reporting exam, wherein he wanted that IFRS to get correlated with the scenario, and answer should have come there and then. You just can't write an IFRS over there and move on. Application of that to the scenario and giving the recommendation basis that scenario was the ask, was what is needed, and if you're not doing that, you're not doing justice to yourself. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Again, not knowing the latest current issues or technical articles, many of the time students really miss on that. They are not aware of the current issues or latest technical articles that really comes on the ACCA website. That is again a suicidal. We as FinTram, we cover each and every of, I would say, current issues in our sessions, in our revision boot camp, in terms of taking the coverage of the technical articles of the current issues to ensure that you do not really miss on that. Just revise the revision boot camp at least 2 times before you release it for exam, and I'm sure result would be very different. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Lack of practice. Now this is, I would say, classic. We are appearing for a practical exam. We know it's a practical exam, but we are not practicing. We are not practicing the way we should have. We are not practicing question by our own hand, but in the CV environment. We are not practicing question, I would say, past exam questions. We are not practicing mock. Big issue, sir. We are not gonna be clearing this exam if you are not practicing enough. These are professional exams, my friend, and it really wants you to practice as much as possible, and that is something you always have to ensure. Is that clear? Yes, sir. And then overall time management issues. I think I've spoken enough on that. Time management is a big time issue over here. You should not let that happen. Always ensure that 1.8 minutes per mark is something that you're spending on and not going overboard. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Coming on, my friend, coming on to recommendation. I have few recommendations for you in terms of, these are like last minute tips that you really need to have before you really sit for your exam, because you should not forget these issues, because this is something you would always see in the exam. I would read out one thing, and this is something I've copied from the ACCA website. They specifically say success in strategic business reader exam, strategic business reporting exam requires a strong foundation of technical knowledge and the ability to apply the knowledge to the current situation. Again, we have discussed that at length. Important is that you should have the knowledge, you should know the IFRSs, and you should be able to apply those IFRSs in the exam onto that scenario, onto that case, and then give the rightful recommendation. And that is gonna be it. That is gonna be it. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Number one, the recommendation that I have is you have to manage time right from the beginning. Do not think 5 minutes you have taken extra can get compensated towards the end. Nope, it's not gonna be happening. Have a watch in front of you. Ensure that you're taking the right amount of time that is there for that question and not going overboard. 110% you have to ensure that. By this you would be able to attempt the entire exam, and that is what is needed. Attempt all question is the next one. Many of the times examiner report says this, that due to the injustice that you have done for some specific questions with which you have fallen in love with, you have not attempted the other questions, and that is the reason some questions have left blank. If you leave those blank, you are not going to be getting any marks. There is no negative marking in the strategic business reporting exam, in any ACCA exam for that matter. Please do not leave any question unanswered. Even if you don't know it, write something on it. You have so much in your head. You just have to apply the common sense there, some logic there, and write something over there. Do not miss that. At times 2 marks here, 3 marks here makes a huge difference and can make a big difference for you to clear the exam. Do not forget that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Understanding the exact requirement of the question, I think I've spoken enough on that. Understand what he's saying from the explanation. Is he saying you to explain, comment, suggest, recommend, discuss? Whatsoever he's saying, do that. Whatsoever he's saying, do that. I'm talking over here, speaking on this like a broken record. Please note, this mistake should not happen in the exam. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Fundamentals are to be ensured. We understand that. Basic IFRS knowledge is must. We should always have that. Have that at the back of our mind, and of course apply that to the scenario. That's something we've already spoken. Answer your question from various perspectives. We have spoken that. Understand your stakeholders, and we all know that. Creditors, debtors, investors, shareholders, regulators, whosoever it is. Answer that, taking into consideration all of these stakeholders. Understand that? Yes, sir. Apply knowledge to the scenario given in the question and frame your answer. I think we have spoken enough on that. Do not miss on the current issues. Latest on the ACCA website. Just go and refer the FinTram Revision Bootcamp. I'm sure that would really give you all the essence. Our sessions are very equipped in terms of taking into consideration all of these latest issues. We have consolidated that. We have included everything that is needed. Just ensure you have gone through at least once, if not twice, before you will sit for exam. Practice the past exam questions. Again, something that we have been doing when we do our revision boot camp, we try to include as many past exam questions as possible, so that's to give you the sense as to what the exam may look like your way, and that's something you should always be looking at. Practicing the mock exam is again the essence. What we do is that we give you the mock exam. Of course, I've given you my commentary also on that in terms of where things have really gone your way and where should be improving on. That is something you should always aspire for. And to the students who have not given the mock, I would again request, please give the mock. Mock is super important thing for you to really know in terms of where you are really lacking on. Is that clear? Yes, sir. All right. Moving on, my friend, I have an exam technique, and the filtramers, I'm sure they would know this, because this they have really seen, they have really discussed, they have really practiced in our sessions on an ongoing basis. The exam technique for you is the FD, me and you. FD, me and you is something that you should be following in the strategic business reporting exam to really get out of the sea of SBR. And the more you will do that, more you would follow that, I'm sure you would be able to cover anything and everything that is needed in the exam. F stands for focus that you need to have on the exact requirement of the question. Now, when you're reading the question, and you have this FD, me and you at the back of your mind, at least you would not forget taking all of these factors into consideration from the standpoint of answering that in the exam. And that is the reason this FD, me and you has been spoken n number of times in our sessions, because I really want you to carry that with your heart, with your mind in the exam room. Focus on the exact requirement is the key. Always ensure that D stands for date and the denomination. Always ensure that dates are duly taken care in the exam. The start of the year, mid of the year, end of the year, all of these dates can be very, I would say, be playing with you in the exam. Examiner loves to do that. The more you'll understand which dates are there, best you are in terms of handling that from the right answering standpoint. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Think about the denominations that are given in the question. Hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, whatsoever that denomination is. Understand that your calculation has to come that way. More you will have an eye on these denomination, less mistakes you would do in the calculation, and hence your analysis will always be right. This FD, me and you is the technique that has helped so many students around the world, and I'm sure that would help you. Have that at the back of your mind and in your heart when you're reading any question in the exam. Any question in the exam. Always ensure that FD, me and you stays with you. This is the fixed deposit of me and you, FD, me and you. That is something that should always stick on with you. All right. Then E stands for the I that you need to have on the time, and this is something we've already spoken. 1.8 minutes per mark is something that you should be spending on. Coming on to, sorry, I have missed on the M. M stands for the memorizing and mapping out the IFRSs. Now we have done the F, we have done the D. M stands for you should be knowing the IFRSs, and if not all, you should memorize all the IFRSs in terms of what they're saying, and you should be able to demonstrate that understanding over there. Map out that IFRS with the given scenario and answer it there and then. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Coming on to the E, which is nothing but the I on the time. That should always be there. Again, 1.8 minutes per marks. 1.8 minutes per marks is something you should always be reminding yourself when you're sitting for your exam. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Coming on to U. Y stands for that you need to ensure what? That you're able to discuss, suggest, conclude. Only the calculation is not going to be helping you out in the exam. These all are the pointers, my friend, that we have discussed. It's not something new. The only thing I'm trying to give you this mnemonic is that this mnemonic should stay on with you as much as possible, and you're able to complement this when you're writing the exam, so that you do not miss on some of the important pointers that examiner expects from you. The more you do that, the best you are fitted from the standpoint of clearing this exam in the best possible way, and that's what I'm trying to really work out for. Is that clear? Yes, sir. O stands for being open to the surprise that may come your way from any current issue standpoint. While we cover so many current issues in our sessions and of course in our revision boot camp, there are times when examiner throws some general issue in the exam, which may or may not have discussed because that is still in the pipeline. If that is the case, be open for the surprise that may come your way. Apply the conceptual framework over there, apply the basic knowledge over there and move on. Please note that this is not new. Many of the times students really have something new in the exam and they just get shattered away over there and of course lose the confidence. Do not do that. Apply the basic common sense, basic conceptual framework that you've learned, apply it over there and move on. Is that clear? Yes, sir. And last but not the least is that understand and apply your knowledge to the case given and make it relevant to the ask. Application is the key to conclude. We've spoken enough on that. You writing just the IFRS is not gonna be helping you. You have to ensure that you're able to demonstrate the application to the scenario and get the answer. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now this FD, me and you, as I said, has helped various students across the globe, my friend, and I'm sure that is certainly going to be helping you in your exam, provided you are following this by any means possible. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now this is something I wanted to cover in this session, my friend. I really wanted to give you some last minutes, I would say, tips and techniques for you to really know and have a recap of before you really sit for your exam so that you just don't miss on it. I've already given my number and of course my email ID. If you have any concerns, any issues, just WhatsApp me or just write an email to me. We'll be happy to answer that. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now I'm open to any questions, my friend, anyone may have. Happy to answer that as much as possible. Ishan Singh says that FD, me and you is gonna be stuck in my head for now. I love you, Ishan, for this. If this gets stuck with you, and of course if it is with you in the exam room, I'm sure you're not be repeating the mistakes that the folks have been doing, and I'm sure sky would be the limit. Very happy for you. All right, Ahmed Ali says, are the Kaplan on-demand resources any good? I would say any resource is good, Ahmed. There is no issue with that. Kaplan really is, is very extensive in their content. So, their book, their content, their online resources, and of course, the on-demand resources are, I would say from the content standpoint, they're really good. So, without doubt, if there is anything that you're really opting out with Kaplan, just go ahead with that. I think it is really good for you. We are the official partners with Kaplan also. So in case if there is any need for any Kaplan resource, you can reach out to fintram.com and we should be able to help you too in terms of any content that you may need from the Kaplan standpoint. Guys, any question anyone may have? Kelly, Zara, Josephine, anybody? Any concerns, any questions? Happy to answer, guys, as much as possible. I really want you to come up with the flying colors in the exam, my friend, because my cup of coffee will certainly get you over there. I'm accruing that onto my P&L, onto my balance sheet. Please clear your exam and have a cup of coffee. All right, Ishan says, sir, I'm confused with the equity method. Can you please clarify that? Ishan, it is actually difficult to really pick up the topic like this, but I can tell you, I'm sure, equity method that you're talking, you're talking more from the IAS 28 standpoint, that is like the investment in the associate or JV, wherein what happens is that if you have a significant influence, then you have to follow the equity method, and significant influence has been defined as a place wherein you don't have a control, but at the same time you are able to exercise the influence and you are in the decision making capacity. That happens when you have a representation on a board. Again, I'm just going back in terms of what IAS 28 really says, in terms of you having the representation on the board, or wherein the shareholding that you may have is anyway say in between 20 to 50% kind of a thing, and then you have a significant influence. And since you have a significant influence, you have to follow the equity method. And equity method is a method wherein I would say the investments that are there, supposedly I'm making an investment in company B. Now my investment would be recorded at a cost. That's what equity method really says, and that would get adjusted for any post acquisition change that happens in my share of net asset. Let's say, if I have to give you an example, let's say I have made an investment of $350,000. Just taking an example, I've made an investment of $350,000, and I have made that investment for 30% of the equity. Now, effectively, I have a significant influence in you, of course. And then let's say your share of profit for that particular year is, let's say, $2 lakhs. So if you have earned $2 lakh in that particular year, 30% belongs to me. So 2 lakh into 30% would give $60,000. So my investment towards the year end would be what? The cost, which is say $350,000, plus my share of profit that is there in you, which is $60,000. So it will be to $350,000 plus $60,000. It will be $410,000 as the closing investment that I would have in you. And of course, any impairment that would have happened can get reduced out of this, but that is something to be dealt on case to case basis. Equity method says that this is how you would calculate, which is cost plus proportionate share that I have in your profit. I hope this helps, Ishan, but this is how much I can explain you over here when I'm really talking on that. You can of course go through our session, and that should really explain you, because we have explained this concept with the help of various examples also. That should really highlight I would say the whole scenarios in front of you. But in nutshell, if I have to explain you the equity method, the IAS 28 effectively talks on the joint ventures and the associates, and that's where they explain in terms of how one should be really accounting for, and this is what the equity method is all about. I hope that was helpful, Ishan. All right, Ishan says thank you. Thanks, Ishan, very helpful. Kelly says, sir, please tell me if I have to attempt question paper in sequence or start from any section. My philosophy is that you should do the question which you know the best. I always follow this philosophy. I do not believe in attempting and going by the sequence. If I know question 2 well, I'll start off with question 2 and then to question 1, then to question 5. Whosoever you think that you know the best, just go by that route. So there is no sequence to be followed as such, while some of the folks says that sequence is to be followed. My personal take is that you should attempt all the questions, important. You should number all the questions properly, important. You should always write and put your best foot forward. So attempt the best question that you think you know, attempt that first and move on. I hope that answers your question, Kelly. All right, Zara says, what is the difference between SBR and DIFR? Honestly, Zara, that's not a question for this forum. SBR and DIFR is something that we can discuss offline. But in nutshell, I can tell you, SBR is one of the subject in ACCA as a qualification. Diploma in IFRS is a diploma in IFRS. One subject is there, which is diploma. DIFR as an exam that is there. It is not a full-fledged qualification like an ACCA, but the exam content in DIFR and SBR are almost the same. I would say DIFR has some I would say more IFRSs than SBR, and SBR has some different IFRSs as compared to, I can say SBR has some IFRSs that are not there in DIFR, and DIFR have some IFRSs that are not there in SBR. But from the overall exam standpoint, both of them cover almost 80% same IFRSs, and that's how the exam is being asked. All right. Josephine, which ACCA SBR variant should I give? I'm moving to UK soon. I think, Josephine, if you are moving to UK and you're going to stay over there and work in UK only, you can take the SBR UK variant. That's fine. But I personally feel that one should not be dependent on any particular country. So my recommendation to any and every student is that one should always take international variants or global variants, so that you're not restricted to any particular geography. You're open to work anywhere in the world, and that's what my recommendation would be, that just take on the international variant, because that certainly gives you equivalent recognition anywhere in the world, and UK will also have that recognition. So take an international variant and move on. Anything else, guys? Anyone may have? We still have 6 more minutes. Anybody, any concerns, any doubt I can help you out with? Hi guys, anyone? I don't want you to not ask questions. Ask as many questions as possible, my friend. This is the time for you. I want you to get the best out of it. If you have any, happy to answer. I do have 2 more slides to show you, which I will show towards the end. But if there is anything, okay, Josephine says, thank you, sir. Really, all right. Thank you, Josephine. I think just go for international one. That should be good enough. All right, does FinTram provide the mock exam? Zara, yes, I just said that, and of course I'll show you the offering also, what FinTram has for the SBR. We do provide the mock exam, and of course we do provide the extensive review of it in terms of, what could have been done differently and done more, and that's certainly there. So you can certainly check out with FinTram in terms of, any registration that you really need to do, but mock exam really comes your way when you take the full course and have studied with us. All right, guys, anything anybody may have, happy to pick it up. All right, while you write the question, I just want to show you a few more slides. This is what the FinTram SBR offering is. So, what you get in the FinTram SBR course is that you get the full course video lectures that is there at your ease, so you can see it anytime, anywhere. You can also access this 24/7. Class questions are always there with every topic, so you would always see class questions coming your way whenever any topic is being explained. That is there. You would also get the current issues, latest technical articles being included in the content, so that is certainly included in the overall chapters that you may get to see. There are always webinars like this wherein we talk, we discuss as much as possible, the Q&A sessions, that as we may say that, and then there is a connect with the faculty. You would have my WhatsApp number, my email ID, and of course we can chat on if there is any need. You would also get a revision boot camp. Now revision boot camp is nothing but the video exam kit that you may have. So we have crafted a revision boot camp in a way that you're able to get the video exam kit, wherein concept questions, comprehensive questions, and past examination questions are being solved, giving you all the tips and tricks that you really need to really come over there with the flying colors. Current issues are also being discussed at length over there, giving you a perspective that how one should be handling that. There are sessions specifically for the exam techniques that you may really need to have from the examination standpoint. That is also being discussed over there. Then we also take on the past exam questions, and that is again being considered in our revision boot camp. So that is also there. And then towards the end we also have a mock exam, my friend, wherein you have a mock exam, and then that is getting reviewed by our faculties and they are giving you the feedback in terms of, you know, what has not gone your way and how can you really improve on and move on. Is that clear? Yes, sir. I'm happy to answer any concerns, any questions that you may have. Now, these are the products that we have from the strategic business reporting standpoint. You get a full course, and with full course, you get the revision boot camp free. You know, that really comes your way when you're buying the full course, that is available. And of course, if you're not only thinking about the full course and only want the revision boot camp of strategic business reporting, that is also available. You can go on the fintram.com and ask for the strategic business reporting revision boot camp. You can take only the revision boot camp and move on to. Is that clear, guys? Yes, sir. All right. So in case you have any further concerns, queries, or any discussion that you really need to want to have it, you know, I have given the Fintram's number over here along with the email ID, along with the email ID and the website details. You can reach out to them and they'll be happy to pick up any concerns, questions that you may have. I've also given my WhatsApp number in case you want to reach out to me and ask anything. We'll be happy to answer that. Okay, one question that has come up from Ishan is that any special area in SBR syllabus that is must. Any special, I would say any special, by any special area, you know what you're trying to do is that you want to cherry pick the topics that you may have in the strategic business reporting exam. If that is the case, Ishan, I can warn you, please do not do that. There is no cherry picking. There is no topic selection that is there in the strategic business reporting exam. You should never do that. Examiner can ask anything. Now, this is an exam which is, I always say this, that this strategic business reporting exam is very wide exam. It is not very in-depth exam. He would not ask you various, I would say, calculations in detail. He would never ask you. But he wants you to know each and every IFRS, the understanding of broadly of IFRS, understanding why it is the way it is, and so on and so forth. And he can test you anywhere. So topic selection or a particular business area selection or syllabus area selection is something I just don't want you to do that. Please go through all the sessions that Fintram has provided you. Please go through the revision bootcamp at least 2 times, and I'm sure you would certainly have a different result for you. Is that clear, Ishan? No more topic selection, no more cherry picking, my friend. Kelly says, really informative and helpful session. Thank you, Kelly. Really appreciate that. Appreciate the feedback. Zara says, please suggest a textbook for ACCA SBR exam. So Zara, if you're studying yourself and asking for only the book, I think you can refer Kaplan, BPP, whosoever you like. I personally like Kaplan more because that's easy to read. So I would say Kaplan and move on. But if you're thinking about studying with Fintram provides their own comprehensive study material. So you don't have to refer any book then. We would be providing you the study material. We would be providing you the material of revision boot camp that would covers the questions, the concept, the comprehensive, the past exam questions also. So effectively you don't have to buy any book after that. So if you're thinking about registering with Fintram from the session standpoint, from the strategic business reporting standpoint, there is no need to buy any material. Fintram will take care of it. They would provide you what you really need. But if you're thinking about studying on your own, I think Kaplan book is good enough a book for you to really move on. All right, guys, I think we are just on time. So we'll wrap this up over here. Towards the end, I would say, I hope you would have liked this session and this was helpful to you. If it is indeed, then do forward this with all of your friends, my friend, who are giving the SBR exam. They would also know some of the tips and tricks that they may really need and that can be helpful to them also from the standpoint of clearing this exam in the best possible way. Is that clear? Yes, sir. And again, not to forget, I'm reminding that again, do subscribe to our channel FinTramp Global for keep getting these informative videos and not missing on the content that you're seeing right now. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Towards the end, I would say all the very best, my friends. Do well in the exam. Come up with the flying colors. I'll be waiting for you with a cup of coffee. Thank you very much. See you next.